Hello everybody, welcome to EFFY STYLE channel here. We're having another interview. I'm the hostess and you saw me in the first episode, so it was all about creative entrepreneurship, and today we have another guest, Hawa, and welcome to the channel.
Hi Laetitia.
Hi.
Glad to be here.
Yes.
I'm good, yourself?
I'm good. It's hard, but we're good. We're doing it the right way here.
Yeah.
The point here is to talk about the fashion, identity, styling, how to dress up, how to be yourself through whatever you're gonna have on you.
Yeah.
And the idea here is to literally talk about it with you because you have a lot to say. We have a lot to say actually about it. So don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and you know what we're gonna do. Just talk and have a lot of fun. So let's go at it and tell us more about yourself.
Great.
How did you come to meet Simone, EFFY STYLE, all the little journey to the point you're here today? How did you meet her?
Sure. So if I remember well, it was Effie that reached out to me via Instagram. So back in the time, I already started a little bit of modeling here and there, but like really just wanted to try it out, like some new things. And she reached out to me. I don't know how did Effie got my contact, but I remember that it was throughout Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, and since then, like, I had several occasions to work with Effie Boutique Style, and it was part of my very first experience as a model, and particularly in fashion. So yeah, that's actually how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was the whole experience when you said yes? What made you say yes?
First of all, as an African, I'm very interested to see like brands that really try to bring, you know, African identity in like modern lifestyle, right? So like I was very intrigued about it, and yeah, so like that was the first thing that really interested me. And you know, it's always important to, when you're starting something, to try new experiences. So yeah, that's how it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the place to the African part of it was very important for you.
Indeed, it was. It was, yeah.
Yeah. Because you come from Senegal.
Exactly. I'm from Senegal and Guinea, Conakry.
Oh, so it's a mix.
Yeah, it's a mix.
Then you lived in France.
Yes, I grew up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To arrive here. So it was all about the fashion. When did it start exactly? Was it like before Canada that you started being more interested in, let's say, modeling, fashion, anything related to that?
I mean, like, you know, I grew up in Paris, so of course fashion was really in the culture and everyone was there, and like so many different brands. So of course, like I don't even remember when I was not interested about, you know, fashion, right? And particularly as a teenager, that's when things really start and you see like people start to really express themselves with it. I used to watch this channel named like Fashion TV, where you could see like people doing like runway, like, and I was very intrigued about it. Like I'm also an artist by heart, like I do painting, and so like fashion is this, yes, at the same time it's very practical, but it's artistic too. So yeah, I have always been interested about it. Yeah.
Expression, because you were saying a lot about like it's the expression part of it, especially the expression which goes beyond even dressing up. What were you painting?
So many different things. Again, like around the African continent. Like I'm from Senegal, and we see a lot of artwork, and especially like nowadays, it's crazy when you go to Dakar. There is a huge, you know, emerging of interest of arts, right? So like I've always been surrounded by it, and I started to try it by myself. I was like why not? Like I started to do acrylic and doing some landscape or even like characters. So that's how it started for me. And I've always loved drawing. It's a way to express myself, to relax myself, to you know, and just like boost your creativity. It's very important as human beings. We need to find a way to boost our creativity.
Yeah. I think there's a lot with that because we're so similar because I was drawing, I'm still drawing, and I'm drawing manga.
Great.
Which is not painting, but it's still a way to express.
Yes, indeed.
Right? In a way where you just like in the little bubble. Because I used to say that when I was drawing, I was in my little bubble. It was like silent, it was peaceful, it was just in my head.
Exactly.
It was just all about the ideas that just like keep just getting better and better the more you're drawing. And shopping or just fashion in general is a part of that. It's an outlet too for that. Because fashion, well, all the TV show that used to watch, I was watching similar things too. I don't know if you know Christina Cordula. Oh, like Les Reines. I think in French it's like Les Reines du Shopping. Yeah, I think it's like Les Reines du Shopping. It was so popular. It was massively popular, and I really fell in love with her because of the fact that she was literally expressing her fashion identity or just way of just expressing herself. And she's so just fashion forward, and it was just not about the brand only, it was not about the trend only, it was just a way for her to just express herself. And she was talking about her life, and the Reine du Shopping has nothing to do with that. It has anything to do with just shopping and find a way to just come up with like great outfits. But it was literally the creativity that you can see with people just coming up with outfits based on certain rules that they have to follow to even get to that point. And I fell in love with the whole show. I fell in love with the whole her. And she's from Brazil, so she has that intense personality. Very intense, but I was like, wow, like the way to express it. So I think that's really a part of it. Now when it comes to expression, how do you see yourself expressing through fashion? Because that was definitely a part of it too. Because teenager, we express a lot. We kind of discover our identity, and fashion can be an outlet for it. So how was it for you?
I would say the first thing is it's also important to mention it, but it also boosts kind of your confidence. The fact that you are feeling well in what you're wearing, right? So it's not just about expressing yourself, it's also about visualizing the identity that you would like to show. So sorry, I'm going on another topic than expression, but yes, like it's very important to also mention it.
Was it difficult, challenging to find your style, to find your way of expressing that style, especially in France, because the culture is going to be different, and the culture is going to be different here, and it's the African culture as well. So how did you manage all of that?
I mean, of course, I love errors and trials.
Love it.
I would not say I was interested about fashion when I was a teen, but I would not say that I would qualify myself as a fashionista back in the time. I was very interested about it and seeing it in other people. Then the aspect of confidence really came after, when I became a little bit more adult. Well, let's also face something, like back in the time, like when you think about fashion 10 or 15 years ago, not a lot of people would look like me or you, or, you know, it was like very a typical type of model that we'd see. Like you really have to wear XS in order to fit into things.
Category.
So, exactly. And it was very, very difficult at some point. So I would always see fashion, good fashion on, you know, other type of people, but not me. And then like it's really afterwards I really tried and say like, you know, no, it's not necessarily me that always have to fit to, you know, something outside of me. Like why should not I adopt something that already exists and like, you know, makes it
a little bit more you?
Yeah, by myself, and like, you know, and something that looks a little bit more like myself. Right? And so it's not because we have this type of category on media that it is the only type of beauty or the
That
only
should exist.
you know. So I decided to say like, you know, like I do me, and that's how it started. And I became like, of course it was a lot of work by myself, but I think today I'm way more confident than, let's say, 10 or 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah. It's a journey.
Yeah, it is.
It is a big journey.
Every culture has strength, but I would like to emphasize on the fact that in Canada, what I really like is the fact that, you know, you're free to be yourself. You're a little bit more free, not like too completely, but a little bit more free.
Yeah.
So it's like there's less pressure to like fit to a certain box or please others.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something I really learned and embraced. And I think that's when the déclic happened, that, you know, like I started to be a little bit more myself and be a little bit more confident. And that's how it started.
I think it was like the openness of what you found here kind of helped you to embrace yourself more.
Yes, it's like more openness. Of course, in terms of choice of like clothing and things, like it might not be as much as the industry in France, let's say, but like there is still enough diversity to find what fits you. And worst case, you can travel and buy
and do the
things,
shopping,
exactly, and do the shopping, right? We live in a, you don't even need to travel, actually. You have online stuff, so it's like you have to pay the shipping costs, of course, but still, it's like there is still like some different ways to
come up
with what you want, basically. Yeah.
Because I feel when you have the creativity, no matter where you live, even if there's not enough, let's say, diverse pieces, you're still gonna be able to come up with something great. Because I feel like the difference from what I saw living in France for some time too is that here there's not a lot of diversity in terms of pieces, clothes that you can find. I feel like it's all the time the same type of brand or the same type of style. That's what I found here, and I was like, why are they doing that to me? Like, no. Because I remember when I used to study in Ottawa, Zara was not even here yet.
Okay.
I was a little bit shocked, to be honest, because Zara is like my reference in my head. And when I got to Montreal, I think it was a couple of, I'm sure I don't even exaggerate when I say Zara. I think either 2 years before I got in Montreal, or maybe a year after I got in no, I think it was 1-2 years max before I got in Montreal. And at that time, even the diversity, there was not so much.
Yeah.
And Zara was like, this is weird, because the Zara that I know in France, I feel like I can find a lot more diverse things, and it's just easier for me. And I feel like here is more expensive too, for what you can get.
Yeah.
And in France, you do have the diversity of pieces and the diversity of brands and the diversity of a couple of things. Even if there's a classic and then there's the creative pieces. But I feel like the culture is still a little bit more classic. Like, it's very fashion, but there's that classic touch, the French touch, like people like to talk about. And here people are just more creative, I feel.
Oh, interesting analysis.
Yeah. Like, I just thought about it. I was like, this is what I feel.
Okay.
And then the impact of the African culture does play a part in it, because there's a lot into looking fancy, looking a certain way in African culture. We love colors. we love looking a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, when my mom was like, you can't leave the bedroom if you're not properly dressed up, type of thing. She was like, no, we don't do that. I was in PJ, and I remember I would leave the room, and there was like people like working, like the person doing the cooking and stuff. She was like, what is this? What is this? Where are you coming from with that? I did not dress you like that. Please put a proper piece on you. So how was with you for the like the experience?
It's like, I don't even think about it. You know, you once you go, like, wake up, you don't stay with your pajama, you always have to get your earrings and
couple of things.
Yes, you know, like always, you know, get prepared. But I also understand, like if I have to go to Senegal, I know that since the doors are open, you always have to expect people just in case coming and things. So I totally understand what your mom is saying. I might say the same to my kids if ever I have. Yeah, I mean, it's like when I traveled, I realized how fashion is very cultural. Right, so I come from Senegal, and something that I know is that we keep doing a lot of like traditional clothes, but also very modern, and depending on the different contexts, on the people that you have to see, you always have like different type of clothing. Like when I'm going to Senegal, like I cannot just go with one luggage. No. Like two, no, like I'm exaggerating maybe, but it's like you really always have to be ready to get dressed, knowing like in which context you're going, right? So it's very important. And also the fact that you have the choice between traditional and modern right now.
There's a lot of it, and I think it's a blend between the traditional and the modern more and more, because for me, EFFY STYLE brand represents that middle ground where you can be traditional with the type of pieces or even with the colors or the fabric, but at the same time, the cut of it is going to be a little bit more fashion forward compared to what we used to see back in Cameroon, Senegal, or any African country for the matter, especially our moms, the way they would dress that, because we know at home, it's going to be relaxed, but it's still going to be very colorful. But it's going to be less modern because you're at home.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, for me, I always would see African fabric as something that you just keep at home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in my mind, I don't know why. I never saw it as something that could be dressy.
Okay.
Which is really weird, because my mom would actually blend a mix a little bit of that, but again, I was very Japanese. I'm still very Japanese in my mind. So I would bring a lot of things crazy, but nothing to do with the African side of it.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. And now I'm embracing more of that African fabric where I could see the possibilities of making it beyond the African way of styling it, even sometimes. Yeah. Like I have a picture in my mind of kimono, Japanese kimono, and African fabric. Very crazy.
It looks nice.
Yeah,
I've seen it several times, and it looks very nice. I can confirm. So good creativity.
Very wild.
No, it's good. It's good.
But how did your mom, let's say, inspire you into the African way of styling? Let's say, because I was talking about like the African way of styling. How did your mom dressing impact you, let's say, for style?
Oh yeah, my mom is my #1 inspiration. She needs to know that. But yeah, I mean, as we were in France, we were not necessarily wearing a lot of African clothes, like Senegalese traditional one. It was mostly when we would go to Senegal though. And I can say yes, my mom, but everyone around me, my aunts, you know, my cousins, everyone will really wear nice clothes, you know, at several occasions. So yeah, I think the way my mom inspired me in terms of clothing is always be modest in the choice that you take, you know, like, so don't necessarily try to be too extravagant or uncomfortable. Like, first of all, like, be comfortable in what you wear, and also, like, you know, for example, it's not because I like fashion that I also have to like brands. It's not because, you know, all of these different things. So that's the way I was growing up. And yeah, like, and you try to find things that you like, but it doesn't need to be like these big brands or stuff like that. No, like, it's as long as you're comfortable and you're good with yourself.
It's pretty much like the foundation of it.
Yeah, very important.
I love it because brand and fashion to me or style is actually it's two different things. And I think nowadays, well, before the pandemic, because I feel like a lot of things have changed since the pandemic, but I feel like we always would be used to associate the brand and then the fact to be stylish. And that's really interesting that you brought up the fact that brand and the fashion is two different things. Tell me more about it. The difference that you see in the way that you actually been raised about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think brand still like reflects a certain image, right? So let's not forget that it's very important to recognize it. So yes, like many brands like do an amazing work at, you know, bringing influence fashion and, you know, but the other element is just like, as we talked about before, like, you know, it's very important to pick a little bit of everything in order to feel good with yourself. And I also like, I want to talk about the fact that, for example, like if you do not necessarily have a lot of choices in like big brands, it also gives you the occasion to go into more local brands, right? Like what we're wearing today,
EFFY
right?
Style.
Yes. So yeah, so I think it's really about like finding what fits you, what makes you comfortable, and what, you know, fits to your identity in a way. Right? Rather than believing, okay, so I'm
This
wearing
brand
this
is gonna
brand
be
or
me.
that brand, right? So if ever you fit with a certain brand, that's great, you know? But if it's not the case, it's okay. You can pick several things at the same time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I agree. Because I definitely believe that the brand doesn't make the person being stylish in any type of way. And brand is a personality to start off. I feel like every brand represents a certain personality or a certain, I don't like to say category because even within the category there's subcategories. So it's a certain vibe, a certain personality. Now, do you feel like you need to know yourself more before, let's say, discovering your own style, or that's something that you just can find by looking at other brands and trying other brands, and like, or it could be a mix?
I think it's a mix. There is not one typical recipe, and also we are like, the way you dress as a teenager and the way you dress as an adult is completely different. So like our tastes change all the time, and you can see it even with food, with music, and all of it. So I believe it's really about, yes, both knowing a little bit more about yourself, but also like, you know, trying new things every time. Right? There is so much choices.
I feel like there's so many choices to have when it comes to that, and I believe that the culture, like you said, the culture does play a big part in our even choices into what we're gonna have on ourselves. And then I feel like experiences and context, because like you said, there's a context for everything. And even if there's more freedom now to wear whatever we feel like wearing, there's a certain context. Because being a lawyer, for example, you're not gonna be a lawyer and get to a client meeting and having a freaking long beach dress, for example. I mean, it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. So I feel like boxes, like we said, the different categories that we used to have before, they're still important. But now I feel like there's more evolvement into creating your own box in a way based on certain contexts.
It's all about context.
Being an entrepreneur or just having something creative that you work on, I feel like gives you more freedom to wear what you want. I feel.
Well, it depends. Like if ever you're an entrepreneur and you have to work with certain type of clients, of course you're gonna have to, you know, adapt yourself and like it's because we are social beings. And on one hand, yes, we can be ourselves, but we always have to keep in mind to know what are the codes around you. Yeah.
So keep the awareness
Yeah.
of actually what's not gonna make you look wild or too crazy. Because I feel like, to me, I have a philosophy. It's better to be overdressed up than to be under.
Oh yeah? That's you? Great. It's true.
Because to me, sometimes I'm like, the middle ground is something where it's chic, relax. Most of the time, 80% of the time, especially after the pandemic or during the pandemic, relax was the key. Because everybody was at home. Most people were working from home.
Yeah.
It was not gatherings, it was not get together, it was not going to the restaurant or anything like that. I kind of really found my comfort into being really relaxed, but some days I would be more chic, depending. And if there's a gathering now, I feel like I have to really come up with solutions because I forgot
how to dress up,
properly.
Yeah.
How did you start really being working with NGOs at the beginning? How did you start doing it?
Yeah, so I have a background in finance. I studied that. I worked in the field for some time. And then I saw this opportunity. Like, I know it was totally different from my background, but I still said, yes, like, why not? So that's really how I was introduced in the NGO world. But before that, when I was a student, I always tried to be very involved into like several aspects, especially related to Africa. So for example, creating conferences about entrepreneurship and investment in Africa, and also like changing the stereotypes that we might have about it. So
there's so much that you can do, and there's so many ideas that we have from the kind of work they would do. So what is it very challenging for you working there and really helping the woman, especially in the society we're living now? What is very much challenging, the top challenge, the first challenge, let's say, for example, for you, that you met and that you saw through working with them?
There are so many, but I think it's again access to resource, and the other thing being taken seriously. So I'm gonna talk about access of resources because let's recognize it, but like as a woman, you very often have way more engagement at home, and we have way more expectation from you on doing other stuff than like economic empowerment, so which create a certain number of pressure. And so it can be both in Canada, like in Africa. So it's very important that we recognize it and we make research about it, because when we talk about like gender equalities, many times you hear about, oh, like we might exaggerate a little bit too much. Like right now, it's not like back in the 60s where things were different. Women have so much more right, etc., and so much more advantages. Yes, things are getting better, and that's why we hear a lot about it. But we also need to recognize that there are still a lot of injustice and inequalities. Like everyone is affected by it. It's not just women. I feel like at this point everybody is affected. Now the way to go about it, there's many approaches, and I think what for you, I would say, like you said, the awareness is the first stage. Recognizing that there actually is still work to do. There's still the inequality in those things. And like you said, at home, there's a certain expectations we have from women. At work, we have other expectations. How could we reconciliate both of those words, especially for women nowadays? Having a family, having a husband, having kids, and let's say being in business. How do you see that happen? Oh, I mean, it's a $1 million question that you're asking me. And of course, like, it depends on every people. Like, some people have the choice and prefer to, if ever they have the financial means, to just work, be at home and not necessarily working and, like, you know, really focusing on your family and your household.
Yeah.
Others really are career orientated, so that means that you also have to get a partner that can understand also that, you know, we have to share tasks at home and all of this. But all of that is so much meant like work that needs to be done like from generation to generation. It's like right now we have way more consciousness than before, but there is still the aspect that is, and I feel like this is one of the fundamentals of like gender inequalities. And of course in Quebec or in, let's say, Senegal, the status are not necessarily the same. The challenges are not necessarily the same, but the first step is really recognizing the sources of inequalities between men and women, and also understand that we are not here against men. Like we are in it together, and it's just really for an improvement for really everyone, everyone, and especially the next generations.
I love your take on it, because I know nowadays, especially when we go about that, let's say, fight or that work that we're trying to just like get to have more results, I guess there's that extreme part where we have a lot of men and women at the same time, all extremes at this point, where it's like we want to be better, but we almost want replacement for some of them. Not everybody, not everybody. So I know there's a mix into that. There's a lot of opinions when it comes to that. It's many groups at this point having different speeches. So I feel like the work that has to be done is to actually, like you said, recognize that everybody is in together.
Yes, I
think it's the beginning of it, like understanding. And some people, it's hard. It's hard for some, and it's a lot more challenging for those. And I think when it comes to the pandemic, because like we said, being at home, having certain things to do at home, and now for a lot of women and men working from home, do you find it being something that just got better for the organization at home, taking care of kids, especially with the pandemic? Do you feel like there was a change or something when it came to that? Because there's been a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I'm not a parent myself, so it will be hard to really talk on behalf of people who have kids. But something that I've witnessed a lot is people saying, yes, I mean, like the fact that I'm working from home is way easier to handle my household, right? So because we also have to recognize that, yes, it's like really for the people that you love, but it's also, you know, work that happens and all of it and effort. So
it's a mix.
Yeah, it's a mix.
It's a mix of anything. Do you see yourself working more, like ideally in the perfect world, if you had to make a choice, having a family and kids and a hobby? Do you feel like for you it would be easier or just perfect to be working from home rather than going to the office every day?
To be honest, like I would not be able to respond to this question. I'm not.
Okay.
But all I know, again, if we have to go back into the work I do for gender equality, is that, I mean, yes, like bringing different options of making work or education more accessible and like can help so many of us, definitely. And also recognizing the issues and the roots of these issues. And it's just beyond, like, you know, distribution of tasks and stuff. It's about the perception that we have about, you know, a certain category of people, right? So like, for example, we might expect that, oh, as a woman you should be stronger, and that happens in so many different contexts, not just home but also at work and school and all of that. So
the place of the woman pretty much at that point, no matter where they are.
And also stop saying that we are just emotional beings, like that being emotional is a weakness. Like
multiple facets. I call it a multiple facet. Being emotional is probably, for me, is a way of being at some point, but it's not all of it. Like digging more, you understand more of what is it that actually is going on. But recognize it, understanding, talk about it is actually what you're doing, and that's, to me, it's like, honestly, there's more hope.
Ah,
There's a lot more hope at that point. And in the middle of all of that, do you feel like the style can be a tool to make women feel more visible for their own advantages, not to look fancy, but it could be a tool to actually make a point? Let's say in the certain context, work, business, entrepreneurship, do you see the style being that for women?
Yeah, I mean, for everyone, it's really a way to express yourself. And if ever you want to share certain, you know, like ideas and belief, you can do that throughout the way you dress up, right?
Yeah.
Of course, like very often when you are a minority into certain place, you have to fit to the context, but not necessarily. You can always bring your own touch.
Yeah.
Like being feminine does not mean that you cannot be tough. Right? Those things are not necessarily contrary.
I love
They
it.
can go well together.
Yeah.
So that's, for example, one way.
Oh no, that's
one
perfect.
thing to express
Yeah.
among so many other things.
Yeah. No, I love to hear it because I know how much we love to dissociate those two and always put the opposite here.
Oh yeah.
If you're strong, well, you are not feminine enough. If you're feminine, you're not strong, actually. So at some point, just like, you know, you actually can be anything you design yourself to be in your head first. And then at some point, the energy or the fact to dress up is just gonna push that energy or just block that energy in a way. So I think I definitely agree.
Oh, great. So we're on the same page.
Oh, no, I definitely agree. That's
Yeah.
like, it was very good. Is there anything else that maybe you see yourself working on for the upcoming project? Let's say for you as a person, what you see yourself doing more, let's say in the next couple of months or next year?
Next year, so something about me, like right now I decided to go back to school doing an MBA. But what I wish it will open doors for me for more, you know, management position in like social related, you know, organization, or, you know, like still working for people life changes, right? And particularly for youth and women economic empowerment. I think it's such a strong tool. I don't want to exclude men, like of course, no, but I think, like, you know, like
for you
focusing on I would consider vulnerable populations and, you know, help them to be way more empowered economically. And so there are so many other ways, like, yes, we have entrepreneurship, but like so many other ways to support it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I feel like it's a life changers at that point. I think we're working more on being like life changers from what we used to see before. And see another generation blossoming really a lot better, especially after the pandemic. I feel like I've learned so much in 2 years than what I've learned in my entire life at this point. So I think more life changes like that, like you want to bring, I'm definitely okay with that. And I'm definitely ready for it.
Oh, great.
So thank you again. Here, EFFY Style, we had a lot of fun. Do you have anything else you want to say? Anything else that you want to share?
No, I just want to say, well, first of all, like, thank you for this interview. It was really nice and fun. And another thing about EFFY Style, I just want to say how much it's an incredible brand. It's very important to support local brands, right? So yeah, I just wanted to say this. It's also a women-led like business, right? So also something to emphasize on. I
definitely agree. We're dressing up in EFFY Style pieces, and there's a reason for it. It's comfortable, it's dressy, it's fancy, it's cute, feminine, and everything that you want to add to it is just on you. So I think we're gonna end here. I hope you had a lot of fun. If you have anything you want to add to, let's say, being stylish, fashionable, being a woman or a man, as a matter of fact, and you want to add your own touch to it, and whatever you learn from what we talked about, just add in the comment, add it, ask questions, and we're gonna be able to answer to all of them and just create more discussions like the one we had today. So thank you again, and we're gonna see you in another episode. Simon is gonna be back. We're gonna have a lot more fun, and for more, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and of course there's gonna be more on this channel and more people, and we're gonna just talk and have fun like that. So bye, have yourself a beautiful day.